And all the shoveling I'm going to have to do today because the roof let go. What's my dog doing over there? Okay, see if you can spot Waldo here. Big black dog in the middle of the snow. What are you doing, Goof? You come back in? I know you're sitting in a snowbank. It's like, dog. She like stands up. It's easy to keep track of her in the wintertime anyway, so that's good. It's weird that she's sitting there. And then we're just hovering around 0, and it all let go. Oh man, that's going to be the heavy stuff, especially when it gets mild like that. The boat and trailer should be okay. Snowed a little bit last night, but heavy wet stuff. Yeah. And it's laundry day. Okay, so next to that, I guess I'll start with the early emergency warning system. Apparently, my fellow Canadians were hearing about this all across the country, so it wasn't just me. Yesterday morning when I turned on the TV, check out my hat. There you go. I turned on the TV. I was on channel 1911. I know, cool. But I don't know what channel that is. Why my dad had it on that channel, I have no idea. Or if it just died, got switched. I have no idea what happened. I turned it on, and it's basically a warning for Ontario. But apparently, this happened all over Canada. I heard some people said it happened to them in a mall in Halifax. Heard out there in Calgary. I heard a few other places. So I guess this was a nationwide emergency warning thing. But if you listen to the message, like it's not like this is an early warning to prepare you for disasters or possible things. No, it's like this is a warning system to let you know you're in imminent danger and you're going to die. And that one was like warning Ontario. I don't know. There must have been one going on in Quebec. It was in both official languages, French and English and stuff like that. So I listened to it. I was like, this is not good. I can understand if they did, they do have to test these things. I get that. I know some people forget as soon as they test them. But I always look at the timing. Okay, a couple of days after the attack in Germany there, whether that's a false flag or not, it's hard to say. Yes, the guy left his ID like all the other times. That sounds very Mossadish. It's very hard to say. But, it's, you don't know. I mean, it might be set up by those type of guys. You see the FBI do it all the time, or the CIA or whatever, where they get their patsy to do it. Like they convince them that they're doing it for the cause. So they find a willing participant and enable them. That's what they do. So maybe that's what we're looking at. We don't know. We're never going to know the truth, right? The other thing is that happens, and then you get this right around right around Christmas. So if it was like, say, it was happening, say, last month and the month before, that wouldn't really make that much of a difference. Be like, okay, well, they're just testing the system. What's my dog doing? She got snow nose. She's got a big clump of snow on her nose. That looks so funny. Yeah. I know what my dog's doing. Anyway, she's out there, get the fresh air, get some of the stink off her. Oh, well, So, yeah, so this early warning system, they're testing it now. I don't know what the threat levels are in Canada right now with CSIS, which is like our CIA kind of thing, / NSA. We kind of put them all into one here in Canada because we've got a lower budget. I don't know what the status is, so you could go look at the CSIS site if they're, warning of any threats. But it's just the warning is sound like it's not like this is a warning system in case of natural disasters or whatever. No, this is very specific to a warning of you're in imminent danger, meaning terrorist alert, that type of thing. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you guys think of that. So they're testing the system anyway to make sure it works. Yeah, we talked about in the last one about the 1,600 tanks going to the Netherlands, throughout 2017. And there's all kinds of stuff going on there. We know a lot of stuff going to Norway. Oh, just so you know, yeah, yesterday we beat Canada, Team Canada in hockey, beat Finland something like 4-0. Go Team Canada. Today, looks like we had lunch with the Czech Republic, and I think that was 3-0. Just saying. Just saying. How do you like me now? So anyway, what's my dog doing? Just hanging out in the snow. That's what she's doing. Maybe crazy dog. Anyway, okay, let's just jump into this. So it looks like the Electoral College they couldn't, and again, you could clearly see that the DNC was trying so hard, but they couldn't do it. Trump got 304 of the delegates out of the 277 that he needed. and I forget what Clinton got. She got, I guess, the remaining. Not all the remaining, because there was a few cast for Bernie Sanders and a few other people that I didn't know who they were. So the only thing I find weird about this electoral college, the only thing I would change about it is that whatever the electoral college is, whoever's in there, that those people can't not cast their vote. But then again, I understand why the electoral college is there. So that you have all the liberals screaming, "Oh, it's outdated from the 1700s and it shouldn't be around." Now, here's the funny part, okay, about the electoral college, and you're going to laugh when you hear this. Right now in Canada, I don't have the card over here, but the Justin Trudeau is trying to, well, not him himself, but the Liberal Party is trying to change the electoral process in Canada. Something that we've, been using the same way for over, 150 some odd years, right? And what they're doing, the voting process in Canada, sounds like they're doing, because nobody can get a straight answer out of the Liberals. Well, what do you want to change it to? And their company line is basically, well, we're going to, talk to Canadians. So they don't have a plan. Like, we're going to talk to Canadians and see what they think a fair system is. That type of thing. It's a really, I haven't went on their site. I'm going to call the number. I'll see if I can get it on loudspeaker or something like that. I think it might be kind of funny. But it's more to be insightful. I don't do it to, I'm going to just ask them basic questions like, what is it exactly that you want to do? What is it that you want to change? You're asking me what I want to change about it. Okay, fine, I got all kinds of ideas. Well, what do you guys want to change? What are you trying to go for? And what it sounds like that they're hinting at, strangely enough, is to give, maximum representation over everybody, for everybody. So in other words, they're suggesting that here in Canada, an electoral college is what they're suggesting. That's what it sounds like to me. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like to give, because the way the Liberals will be looking at it, well, if we can smooth over, like, say, the smaller Native communities and stuff like that, they'll always vote Liberal, and we'll give them more power so that anybody that votes Conservative or whatever, they can be, like what you've seen in the American election where, okay, well, let's say a Conservative guy wins all the popular vote, but you have an electoral college, and he gets thrown under the bus. Okay, that's a possibility, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But this means Trump is now... It doesn't mean they won't kill him before he gets inaugurated. I don't think they will. I think what they want to do with Trump is embarrass him. Trump's picks are very concerning. But again, like I've said, with Trump, the only thing we can do with Trump, I mean, this man, he's still playing his poker game. You don't know if he's legit or not. You can't tell. There is no way to tell until after he does things. I think Trump is a kind of a mix of legitimate. Everything he says he wants to do, but I think he's also holding back a lot of stuff too. Now, the problem is the Goldman Sachs crowd that, remember, his son-in-law is a Goldman Sachs banker. That right there should be, we've talked about this. But maybe, I'm not saying everybody in Goldman Sachs is a criminal. But a lot of, these are the organizations that are deemed, they are classified as criminal organizations, yet they find the wallpaper and the chairs and the offices, they don't, nobody ever goes to jail. And you see with J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs, the Federal Reserve, these are all criminal organizations. They're constantly being fined for doing criminal acts. And then whenever they find the banks just turn around and take it out of our hides, right? So the fact that he's surrounding himself with so many Goldman Sachs guys, well, there's a couple of things that are going on here. Because think about it this way: if you wanted to beat the system, the best thing is to go into deal with the guys who rigged it, which is a shady area to get into. But that might be what's going on. That said, Celebrity Apprentice might be going on as well. Okay, well, we're going to put all these people here, and when they start doing the things, maybe he's setting these guys up to fail. We just don't know. We just don't know. Or like some people say, no, there's no changing of the guard. New boss, same as the old boss. Again, like Obama, he told everybody what they wanted to hear. But I don't think so. I really do believe there is a populist uprising globally that the elites can't get a hold of. They can't infiltrate it well enough. It's just because they could have gotten Donald Trump elected without the radicalness. They would have been very easy. They could have put, if he was in on the other side, he wouldn't have had to go so radical. He could have made all his talking points without, there's so many things they could have done without going that. So I do think Trump is who he is, and who he says he is, and wants to do what he wants to do. It's just, will the system let them? That's the thing, is who will work with them, who won't, and how many people are going to stab them in the back. Now, another thing before we get into more of the World War III, but because this is, I know some people don't like the politicking part of it, but that is the main reason why we're going to war. Now, one of the things you keep hearing about is how the stock market is going to hit 20,000. And there's been people for years saying when the stock market hits 20,000, that's when they're going to let it go. The Dow hits 20,000. Remember, the stock market is not the economy. It's the Fortune 500 companies that pretty much get bailed out by the government. You know, one way or another, right? Lockheed Martin, et cetera, which is owned by Rothschilds. So the thing is that Janet Yellen is out there saying they're not going to be just one rate hike this year, but possibly 4. And they probably will do rate hikes because they need to collapse the economy on Trump's watch. Say, oh my God, see, his policies are so bad. Barack Obama had this awesome recovery, and look what he did. Look what, Trump did. That type of thing. So that's the angle I think they're going to go for. And then, okay, it's such a disaster. We've got to bring in this, we're going to suffer so much through 2017. Prepare yourselves. Again, buy more food than you need. Again, if I'm wrong, you got extra food in your house. You know, that's the way I'm looking at it. Look at it, if I'm wrong, again, I always give rice, I had rice this morning, actually, strangely enough. 18-pound bag of rice, 15-pound bag of rice, $10. You really can't go wrong with that. Is it the only thing you should buy? No. You buy, get yourself a pantry. You can do this in an apartment or whatever. At least have a couple of weeks' worth of food so you can come up with a plan B. And if you can have a couple of months' worth of food, that helps you to weather the storm with what is probably economically going to hit us all pretty hard. Now, that said, depending on which way Trump plays, it could really either get us towards war or it could get us towards... again, there's no way out of this without pain. That's the simplest way to put it. So, economic collapse, we all suffer, we lose everything. You're seeing it in Texas right now where they're basically taking all the firefighters and police officers' pensions. Not all of them taken away, but they're taking it down, right? And these things aren't sustainable anyway. They're unfunded liabilities. And the newer generation doesn't have the tax revenue to pay for it. Now, that said, all these unfunded liabilities could be funded if you quit the wars. The billions of dollars that you put in the military-industrial complex will definitely pay for the healthcare. Will definitely pay for the... This is why I'm a nationalist and believe in a non-interventionist policy for Canada. Although we have there's no reason for us to be in the Ukraine. Yes, we have a huge Ukrainian population here, but still, what are we going to... Every group of people in Canada, we're going to go and defend their old country? No, you're in the new country. This is the new country. Welcome to Canada, whatever. But here's what you're going to do. If you really want to go fight in Ukraine, you go fight in Ukraine. But then you go fight over there, you can't come back. Like that type of thing. Same with Syria or any place like that. It's not up to us to defend the world. But according to the bankers, that's where they make most of their money. So war's a racket, right? So anyway, now that drone that was captured by the Chinese, that undersea drone. It looks like the Chinese want to give it back. I don't know if they have given it back, but they want some deals. We'll give it back to you, but we want you to scale down the surveillance in our area because I will be doing a global view like I do. I don't know how many parts it'll be where I get the map. I'm going to try to do as much of that today as I can. So World War III global view, just so you can see where everything is building up to. So that type of thing. The whole thing there is that China is saying that, okay, look, enough's enough already. You guys are provoking and provoking and provoking. Remember, there's over 400 U.S. military bases surrounding China. When we look at the global view, you'll start to get the reason why China is doing what it's doing. That said, you don't need a military to take out China. You just got to stop doing business with them, put tariffs on them, whatever. They'll just implode. And you can knock them back to the 1950s very easily. That way, that's why China is taking all that U.S. debt that it takes on, and which is now dumping. I mean, they're dumping U.S. treasuries. Almost every country is dumping U.S. treasuries. There's nobody to buy these things. That stuff, there's only two options for the U.S. When those chickens come home to roost, it's either let hyperinflation take play or destroy the money supply. Now, if you destroy the money supply coming back, what you win there is that inflation stays within reasonability. Now, bankers love inflation. The common man doesn't. I don't like paying more for things. You know what I mean? Getting less for your money. Now, the thing is, and I'll use Adam Carolla as I guess he has his own show or whatever. He bought this car. It was some sort of a supercar that he bought, and it's like he was trying to explain to somebody how it was an investment. That, this car back 20 years ago was only $60,000 and he bought it for $250,000 or something. I don't know what the exact number was. And it's like, it's went up in value so much. And what he doesn't understand is, no, that car's still the same car it was. In fact, it should be depreciated. Why? Because it's been driven since. There's wear and tear on it. Whatever, that'll depreciate. I mean, think of your old clunker, like not my road rage van, because that's a prestige stallion of a vehicle there. But, like something like that, like, okay, that van brand new was probably about $11,000-$12,000. I don't know what it would have been in 2002. Oh, my dog. My dad bought it for, I thought he paid like $1,800-$1,900 for it. No, he only paid like $600 or $700 for that van. So it makes you realize the deal that it actually is. That said, is that van ever going to go up in value? No. I mean, I just put $240 worth of tires on there. That's just the front two tires. Never mind the operational cost, but the $10 headlight, the $50 rotor that I had to put in there last summer. I ain't getting that money back. I ain't getting that money back. But I can guarantee you that should that vehicle still be running in, say, 10 years, which I don't think it will be. I'll be lucky if I get another year out of it. But let's say it is. Okay, that's going to be a budget buy for somebody, but it's probably going to be $2,000 at a dealership somewhere. Like as a used clunker. And not because it went up in value, but because your money buys less. And this is what's going on around the world. So the Chinese, what they have done is they built these mega cities. These cities are going into decay. And I don't know why they don't let people move into them already. Like, it's like, okay, well, start selling your real estate already. But they don't want to be caught with the cash. So what they do is when they take on U.S. treasuries, they build stuff, which they also build their military with it. Again, pre-1991 NAFTA, China was still living like in the 1950s. 1950s, 1970s kind of. They weren't very far, whatever. And the goal was to play China off of Russia. And now it looks like they might be doing it the other way around. It looks like Trump might be trying to play Russia off of China. So it's kind of weird how it backfires all the time. That's why you should just be out of this foreign policy bullshit. Oh yeah, but the Chinese will conquer that whole area. Well, yes and no. I mean, if China invades Taiwan, well, they're going to lose a lot of Chinese people. Mind you, they've got the manpower to do it, but they're not going to take Taiwan overnight. I mean, invasion force or not. South Korea, same thing. If South Korea and North Korea go to war, there'll be smoldering rubble there and hardly anybody left alive. But no one's going to win. If Japan and China go to war, again, in the long run, China might win, but I doubt it. Because, again, like, it depends. It'll just go to a stalemate. Why? Because the Japanese know that the resources are going to be limited. So there's no point in trying to take China, but just use all the resources into defending Japan, which will be hard enough for the Chinese. Will lose ships. They'll lose everything. They only got a few hundred warships to if you add them all in, from big to small. And major size warships like Blue Water Navy, they don't have a big navy, maybe 70, 80 ships. They're not much bigger than the United States Navy. It's not like World War II where you have 20,000 ships per country. You know what I mean? Like 10,000 here, 20,000 there. Canada, we probably have like, I think 10,000 to 30,000 ships if you add in everything, all the merchant ships and everything. As far as battleships and aircraft carriers, we didn't have too many. We only had a handful. The Corvettes, we had tons of those. All these things, we had those things, and but they were built a lot quicker. They were, the warships that were out there, they could put out a few a week. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Battleships, there wasn't a lot of battleships in World War II. There was a fair amount of them, but there really wasn't that many when you really think about it. Japan had the Yamamoto. That was the biggest battleship ever built. The thing was just a monster, and it took a lot to take it down. So that was a real high resource target. The Nazis had the Bismarck and the Tepes. Basically, what got the Bismarck sank when they on their second battleship, Tepes, which eventually got sunk in the harbor. They didn't have anti-aircraft guns. And think about it, it was like 100 mile per hour, 150 mile per hour cloth wing ferry swordfish that dropped a torpedo that crippled the rudder on the Bismarck. And then, after that, it was just everything, just pile onto the Bismarck until you sink it, right? It went down fighting, but nonetheless, it's like they didn't have the airplane that was flying was so slow that the guns that they did have were too fast. It was like shooting way ahead of it. And it's like this little mosquito coming, fighting in the wind, big massive battleship. We can't steer the damn ship. And then plans to build these massive Nazi ships, and they never got a chance to. And had they done it, I mean, we're talking, something like 20 gun, five gun turrets, 20 gun battleships. I mean, these things would have been just incredible, powerful machines. They never got to build them. And nowadays, how long does it take to build a warship nowadays? It takes forever. It's just so slow. Look, we're going on almost over a decade with the ship procurement program here in Canada. Mind you, I think it was in 2002 where they started, but they didn't, planning, okay, well, what's the ship going to be, what ship are we going to take, whatever. But just once they start the building process, it actually does take them quite a while because it's so, they're so complicated. And the problem that runs you into is that in World War III, okay, you can take out everybody's navy in a short amount of time. But, like the Japanese, they might kamikaze a few F-15s into their navy. Okay, fine. It worked in World War I or World War II. Okay, well, whatever. But the thing is that if you have the Philippines right now is up for grabs, in my opinion. They're up for grabs. They do tend to be going towards China, but I don't think they're going to jump in to help the Chinese if they get into a battle. Taiwan has always been, they want independence. They're going to take their independence. So you can see Japan and Taiwan work together. Malaysia, I think, is somewhere in the middle. And then whatever, and then Hong Kong or whatever. So it depends on how the Asian countries work. For example, Vietnam and Hong Kong, if they decide, well, we're going to join up with the Japanese. The thing about the Asians is they all hate each other so much. It's funny, like, always hear how, white people are so intolerant, but just listen to Asians. They hate each other. They hate each other with a passion. Maybe not each and every one of them. I'm sure you got a Japanese girl married to a Chinese guy somewhere, I get that. But in general, it's just, especially the Japanese, they're extremely nationalist. They hate the Chinese with a passion. And the Chinese, well, again, they've got bad blood going back how far, you know what I mean? In World War II, the Japanese completely brutalized the Chinese. And then before that, the Chinese would have brutalized the Japanese. It's back and forth and back and forth. There's no point taking sides on it. The point is that, could some of these, would the Philippines actually, if they saw the Chinese in a war with Japan, they'd probably say, well, we're just going to sit this one out, Why? Because it wouldn't make any sense for them to, it's like, well, if they're going to kill each other, that's fine. It makes it so, if they kill each other to enough point, well, then it'll make it so that, okay, well, you know what, if we ever have to fight them, let the enemy of my enemy do his job, you know what I mean? That type of thing. So, but with the Navy stuff, it's, I know I'm a little off topic here, but it is important to understand that, I think the warships, in a World War III scenario, warships last maybe 2 weeks. Submarines, you might get a couple of months out of them, just because they're a little bit harder to find. But as soon as all the warships are gone, then those submarines, a lot of submarines have no means of shooting down, some do, but some of the newer ones do. But they have no means of shooting down like sub-hunters. If I was designing a submarine, the first thing I would have on there is a means of deploying subsurface to air missiles. Okay, you got a helicopter on the horizon. It's slow. You've got stealth on your side, okay? His torpedo that he's probably going to be using has a 20-kilometer range or something like that, or a 20 nautical mile range, or 60 nautical mile range, whatever it might be. Well, you stay just outside of his envelope because you can hear him coming for 400 miles away. You get ready just before he's outside the envelope, and you come to the surface, maybe not to the surface or whatever subsurface, track him well, fire it, just a lightweight missile, just before he can drop his torpedo, and that type of thing. You shoot those down left, right, and center. It would be. I think some of the newer Russian subs can do that. But anyway, you get the idea. There is a Russian freighter going to Tartus right now. It's a supply ship. This one, I think there's been a couple of them that have been going, and of course they've been getting the, you can't go through here, you can't go through there. They're basically, I think they're bringing more weaponry to the Syrian Arab army and getting ready for the next major offensive, which Assad is probably going to take a month or two. Now that Aleppo, I mean, they still got to sort out Aleppo. Like, I mean, it's yes, they've retaken it. And they're capturing all these intelligence officers that were embedded with the rebels, so you might say, and they're exposed. They've already exposed like a list of 14 names of these agents, ranging from the CIA to the Mossad to Saudi to Turkish intelligence, British intelligence. They're all there. So basically, these are the countries that support terrorism. You know what I mean? Like Assad isn't the terrorist, so to speak. Is he a shady character? Sure. But, again, there was no reason to go into Syria at all. Syria was supposed to turn out like Libya, but it didn't work. And the bankers lost in there. That said, they're not going to stop trying. They don't give up. But the thing is that there's no way they can get around it. Like, again, to get into a war with Iran at this point, even with Trump, I think if Trump goes too hard on Iran and starts getting into we're going to blow the shitballs out of Iran for Israel kind of cha-cha-cha stuff, I think that'll backfire on Trump. People wanted Trump because they're sick of the wars. They don't want, and drafting I don't think is going to work. I think in Vietnam you had a lot of guys that refused to go, and they took jail time I don't think you should be going to jail for refusing a banker war. Because the country, it's different if the country is coming, okay, let's say you've got fighters and bombers and warships off your coast, coming in, then yeah, okay, all hands on deck. I get that, but this idea, okay, well, there's a Middle Eastern country that nobody even know where. I mean, ask most people where the hell Syria is. They don't know where it is. You know what I mean? Like, most Americans have no clue where Syria is anyway. So why are we even in that country? You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Same with Canada. Like, we have nothing to do with that. So it wasn't destabilized by the Syrian government. These so-called protesters, again, backed by George Soros, and you had John McCain in there, basically with the CIA. I mean, this is openly admitted by John McCain, pretty much. Yes, we arm the rebels. These are the good guys. These are my friends. And almost every Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra leader, he's got a picture of them with. See, these are my friends. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's openly admitted that this is a proxy army to overthrow the Assad government. So, a couple of protesters, again, there was nothing. There might have been some organicness to the protests, but as soon as they get hijacked by George Soros money, death and destruction follows. It's that simple. And right now, pretty much everywhere you see destabilization, whether it's Black Lives Matter or the Ukraine or Syria, white helmets, whatever, George Soros money is always there. The man is a beyond super criminal. This is the most genocidal maniac on the planet, and he does it on behalf of the Rothschilds and probably other people too, whoever he's invested with, right? So you get the idea. So the United Nations want to send observers to Aleppo. The Russians are already sending in food and stuff like that. Buses going back and forth. Not all of them can get through. There are still like holdouts in Aleppo that are shooting at. The only people getting shot in Aleppo are getting shot by the ISIS guys. They're not getting shot by Assad's troops. They're not getting shot by the Russians, right? That type of thing. I'm sure the Syrian Arab army, and there's enough people like that were in Syria saying, no, the only people that are over there are the Al-Nusra guys. In Aleppo, that's mainly Al-Nusra guys in there, or ISIS or whatever. They're all the same group, if you ask me. So that's kind of what's going on there. Now, NATO is out there talking about, the stuff they're normally talking about, how much Russia is a threat, and we need to bolster up this. We have the 1,600 tanks to go to the Netherlands for next year, and they're talking about all the new drills. So Russia counters with, they talk about their missile capability, how basically all the threats that NATO would have, submariner threats that they would have, the Russian missiles can counter basically underwater drones, submarines, whatever it is. They have missiles and torpedoes and everything. So the Russians are like, our firepower is more than adequate to take on anything NATO can throw at us. Again, that is Russia's main goal, is to take on NATO. And they are upgrading and upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. Now, again, if the Russians are in on it with like that they're going to have a world war and it's already been agreed upon. The good news is that it'll go lightly nuclear and people will survive. The bad news is depends on where, who they choose to get murdered or not. But if we go with Joe Scalzi, he says they've agreed on the war, but it's not going to happen until 2022, 2025. So that's, or 2024, that type of thing. So that's not too far around the corner. And again, we know about depopulation agendas and stuff like that. Now, I was listening to Justin Trudeau talk the other day, yesterday actually, and he was talking about the pipelines, talking about globalism and stuff like that, how Canada is unaffected by the populist uprisings. Yet, yes, for now, but that's coming here to Canada too. It's everywhere. Why? Because people are, when they start to lose their wealth, trust me, they're going to go populism. And he's making this big case for, Trans-Pacific Partnership. There's a new one out there. I forget what it's called. But anyway, this one is it's just they keep rebranding it. It's the same thing, and it's again, control everything, right? And another trade deal. It's in secret. You won't know what the details are until 5 years after it's been signed. Stuff like that. It just doesn't work for the people, and people are starting to pay attention to these things. Why? Because it's starting to hurt people in the pocket, right? So, yeah, Canada's still toting diversity as our strength. And, he was talking about, again, Trudeau is a good PR guy, even better than Obama, because he doesn't always have to have a script in front of him, because he's been propagandized since he was a kid very, very well. And so he could sit in front of people right now he's really pandering to the Native community, which I'm not too upset about that. I'm okay with that. What's going to piss me off is when all the things they're going to promise to the Natives and not deliver. Running water on all the reserves. Now, maybe Justin Trudeau is, just the useful idiot utopian puppet and doesn't realize it. Because I do believe he does believe his own rhetoric quite a bit. And he was saying some things along the lines of, the reason why we're into global markets, there's advantages to it and stuff like that. And it's not because the Liberal Party wants it, it's because the people of Canada want it. And there is some truth to what he's saying. Now, the thing he was saying about that, he goes, what we're trying to do is get our products to the global market, because his argument is that if everybody else around the world prospers, we'll prosper. And there is some truth to that. He is correct. And again, you know what I think about Trudeau. So for me to agree with him, I don't like to do that. But however, there's a problem. It's the mountain climber effect, what we see now. When everybody does well, we all climb the mountain together. When one falls, we all fall. And that's also the 2008 crash. This is why you need more protectionism than globalism. You don't need to be completely isolated, but you need to protect your own economy from within. Now, this new thing that's going to be I forget what it's called. Basically, it's complete. This is what the migrant crisis comes down to, and everything like that. If this new trade deal passes, it opens up insourcing like you wouldn't believe. Meaning, everybody that has their job now, the corporations can just fire you and get you to train your replacement, like they're doing in the States. That's going to lead to civil war. You can't take the people that were paid well, lay them off, and then hire a whole bunch of people for half the price. You can't do that. It doesn't matter if you make it legal or not. You're just going to set yourself up for a civil war. Why? Because people aren't going to, and they're going to blame the people coming in taking the jobs too. And the last thing I would be doing, if a manager came up to me and says, okay, we're going to be laying you off in 2 weeks, and in that time we want you to, train your replacement, I'm telling that guy to go fuck himself. You're not doing that. You're not doing that to me. Yes, you can go to the Labour Board of Canada and stuff like that, make your claim there and do it just to keep it official. But the thing is that the Labour Board of Canada is government run. The government wants these trade deals. So that's what all this mass immigration thing is about. Again, lowering wages and lowering the quality of life. It's for the big corporations. Those are the only people. It creates the haves and have-nots. It's not for making the middle class bigger. If you want to make the middle class bigger, you got to get rid of a lot of this socialism that we can't afford. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of everything, but start with the foreign aid. Start with that. Cut the immigration off. Right there, $23 billion a year. It's one of our most expensive programs we have in Canada is immigration. So if we cut immigration, we don't, if the population were to shrink a bit, the job scarcity would become, the jobs would become more competitive because everybody would have a job. But the thing is not you wouldn't have 100 people trying to get one job. You'd have maybe 3. 3 people competing. Everything would go up in value, and they don't see it that way. Because we have to have so many people to, compete on the world stage. Because the more people you have, the more your economy. That to a point. Okay, if you're talking a village of 10 people versus a village of 100 people, the people with 100 will advance much faster. 100 to 1,000, you probably barely notice. 1,000 to 10,000, you're not going to notice at all. Progress isn't going to be that much more. But because they see a glimpse of it in the past, where, the areas that are more populated advanced quicker. That's true. But with modern technology and stuff like that, that no longer really holds. So you don't need to flood in people you don't need. And yeah. So Trudeau, again, he's a globalist all the way, worse than even Harper, because he can't. At least Harper could count and sort of get a balanced budget there. But anyway, China, again, getting ready for big training exercises and stuff like that to take Taiwan before Trump takes power. The China-Taiwan thing, the thing that China is, again, they're going to do an island hopping war. That's all they're setting up for. They want a blue water navy, yes. But they only want to conquer, say, from Guam to Australia. They don't want to take the whole world because they know they can't hold it, no matter how much manpower they have. But the Chinese, they're going into build mode again. This time we're talking heavy lift AN-225 transport helicopters. I covered that in a few WW3 updates ago. And these, the largest, I think they're French. I don't know if they're French made or who makes them or whatever. But the largest amphibious hovercrafts, so that they can get their forces, their amphibious APCs. Like, they have a ton of these APCs, but they can't move them fast enough. So they need these hovercrafts to get those APCs to where they need to, and then the APCs can then evade like Taiwan or Japan or whatever, that type of thing. And the thing about that is, like right now off the U.S. coast, you have like what they call the AAA. It's basically an armored vehicle, does about 30 miles an hour skimming across the top of the water. But the Chinese vehicles apparently are faster. I don't know how they're faster, but I guess they must hydroplane or whatever. And the idea is, basically your landing craft is your tank, that type of thing. And the Chinese have thousands of these things. And it makes it good for coastal defense, also for land invasion. But the thing about it is that they could take small islands with these, no problem, because they're amphibious. So, they can hop from, if there's a short distance between islands, they can hop island to island, that type of thing. So between the warships and between these APCs, that could be pretty good, but they have to have a means of getting these APCs to where they need. So that's what they're working on. And if they wanted to take Taiwan, they would have to basically have all these APCs offload, surround Taiwan in a circle, and come in at them like that. That's about the only way they can do it, because they have to attack from every angle, or where the defenses are the least, just to get the guys onto the island, right? But I think they'd get slaughtered. Like a land invasion is one of the worst things to have to do, because it's so hard. You're so exposed. World War II, look at the landing craft of World War II. A lot of guys never made it onto the beach. You know what I mean? It's just such a... Nowadays, yes, you got stuff... Okay, you got an APC. Okay, well, the light machine gun fire isn't going to stop the APC. It doesn't matter how many rounds you put into it. But the RPGs will. You know what I mean? So you really do need a lot of numbers that can move very, very fast. Or else by the time the first vehicle gets to the land, you had 50 vehicles and you got 2 of them on the beach. It's not going to work. So if they have these AN-225s, okay, you got paratroopers coming down all over the place, just to support the landing of the beach. So you got them fighting on all fronts. I think that's the only way they could take Taiwan if they really wanted to take Taiwan. I think that's about the only way they could do it, is to have like full-out invasion, Red Dawn style, attack from every angle. How many Chinese do you lose in this? I don't know, but probably I would think they would send in their ship forces first. Why? Okay, these are the conscripts. We're just going to draft, a bunch of people, give them like 3 weeks training, give them a rifle, and give them the old SKSs or something like that. And if they get killed 15, 20 to 1, it doesn't matter. They can piss the men away. That's the way the communists always have done it. Is they'll piss their men away, overwhelmed with numbers, because they know that tactically in the long run, the man is expendable. So you got 10 guys running around, 1 guy has the rifle, and when 1 guy falls, the next guy picks up the rifle and away he goes, and everybody else carries extra ammo. So they would probably still stick with that tactic, and again, it would just be a numbers game at that point. So it's like, okay, well, if you're dying 15 to 1, Taiwan is pretty populated, but even if they were losing 15 to 1, like they did North Korea and Vietnam was roughly about that, something like that. It does work out in their favor because they've got 2 billion people to throw at it, right? And if they take Taiwan, then the Chinese, if they were to ever take Taiwan back, and you have to understand, there might be people in Taiwan that are Chinese sympathizers, because that's the whole thing. Like the Chinese moved into Taiwan, and it's kind of like what they're doing in BC. So, like say 100 years from now, or 50 years from now, the Chinese will say, well, BC is a Chinese province, because they'll have, like, say, 82% Chinese majority. And Canada will say, no. Well, then they'll just, we're going to invade, so they'll practice to invade that. The way the Chinese try to do it is they move a whole bunch of people into an area. Those people, they kind of, they build their little Chinatown or whatever, and they just keep flooding more people in. And then eventually, when they get enough people there, then they either vote their way towards... the Chinese plan this out for a long time. They plan hundreds of years ahead. That's why they have dynasties. They don't just think about the next politician or the next whatever. They're way, way, way ahead. So next to that, the YPG, so far they have sieged about 60 villages in Raqqa, that type of thing. The thing about that is that the Kurds, depending on which Kurdish force you're talking about, they might become a problem in the long run. But I think in the short run, because I think maybe the Kurds have this idea that, well, when there's victory in Syria, we're going to get this part. But it's a part they already have, but will they get independence in it? And that's what I don't think is going to happen. And that could lead to another war between them, between the Syrians and the Kurdish population. What John Kerry, that's what the Greater Israel Project is. Well, give the Kurds this, give the Sunnis this, the balkanized Middle East for the Greater Israel Project. I mean, John Kerry pretty much let the cat out of the bag. Again, he's notorious for doing stuff like this, opening his mouth when he shouldn't. But it's like, well, here's what we're going to agree on, is to basically give the Middle East to all these tribal regions, and then they'll all have their own regions. So in other words, we're going to see from 200 countries on the planet to something like 250 countries on the planet, something like that. So all these little tribal regions, and then the concept of the Greater Israel Project is, if the Middle East is so balkanized, then at the end of the day, there's not going to be a state there big enough to challenge Israel. That's the way of looking at it. But I think it backfires because the people in the Middle East, again, I've never been to the Middle East, but just the observations made, and several intelligence officers said this, that the Middle East, you can't view it as countries. You have to view it as tribal regions, because they don't look at a lot like the Ottoman Empire, when after it fell, like, they don't understand Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. They understand Sunni, Shia, Alawite, Wahhabist, Ba'athist, whatever, and Kurds, whatever. They understand tribal regions, right? They don't understand it so much as... So, for example, the Shia that are in Iran are also in the part of Saudi Arabia where all the massive oil fields are, and that's why you have the those Houthis. They're Shia. Most of the Houthis. They're closer to the Shia, right? So that's what Saudi Arabia is fighting. They're fighting. It's a Sunni-Shia war. It's not a Iran-Saudi Arabia war as much as a Sunni-Shia war. And this is the strangleholds Saudi Arabia kind of has over. Iran has over Saudi Arabia, is that the people where their prosperity is right in the tribal region that Iran is aligned with is the Shia. So that's the Sunni-Shia wars. These are the two biggest Muslim groups there in the Middle East, and that's what it's about. So it doesn't matter if the Saudi Arabian line goes where the oil fields are, where it goes, if it's in Shia territory. You know what I mean? Because the Shia aren't looking at it, well, I'm in Saudi Arabia, so I have to go. This is our territory. It's still tribal. Right? So that type of thing. So we'll have to keep an eye on that anyway. Over in South Korea, if you've ever watched the movie Avatar, there's that kind of robot thing that walks around, and it's like a soldier. Then he fights the Avatar guy at the end or whatever. No, spoiler alert. Sorry about that. But there's a 1-ton machine in South Korea. It's called Method 1, and it's 13 feet tall. It actually works. So Robot Jocks is about to become a reality. That's going to be kind of cool. These big giant boxing robots. But you get into this thing, and the movements of the man inside, they've made it work. Like, that's incredible. I can imagine there must be like 1 million gyros in this thing. I don't think it's ready for combat anytime soon. But just the concept, you now have, like, wow. So I didn't see all the footage of it, but I got to go check it out again. It was just something else. A little on a side note, again, might not have anything to do with anything, but I think it is important. If you haven't checked out Reality Calls, if you haven't checked out her website or her YouTube channel, this girl does a fantastic job on the Pizzagate stuff. She's really, really into it. She's been talking to a lot of people. And in Virginia, there's even WW3 was talking about like an incredibly large amount of kids gone missing. Now, they call anybody a kid under the age of 18 type of thing. And there was a guy on Reality Calls kind of setting the record straight, saying, well, what it is anybody reported missing that's a teenager or whatever, they put out the alert right away as, until that person is found. And it comes off as, because they report everything, so it comes off as if there's a larger number of people disappeared than what there is, in the rest of the country. But it's not really the case. It's just other areas they might not consider, say, people over the age of 15, put them into the Amber Alerts, that type of thing. They might not do that in all places of the country. And there's only one lady that looks after missing children, because there's not enough of a budget. Again, how much money did you send to Israel this year? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, stuff like that. Just like, let's take care of our own before we worry about foreign intervention. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, But anyway, I thought that was important because the Pizzagate thing, Lauren Southern, who I think she's great, talking about her conspiracy theories. I don't know why she would kind of dismiss the Pizzagate thing a bit, because I think there is validity to it. I mean, you do have known pedophiles that are, these emails. Yes, it's all circumstantial, but it's definitely warranted. Like, if you're a cop, I don't know how you couldn't look at this thing. And again, I'm sure there must be some off-duty cops looking at this and saying, okay, well, before I take this to my chief, I want to see something that convinces me that I can get a warrant. Again, nobody has come forward yet, but I mean, look at all these things, pedophile rings, child, with priests and stuff like that. It's like, one finally comes forward and then 10 people come forward. It's that penguin off the iceberg thing that I talk about all the time, where it takes, one penguin to jump in to make sure there's no killer whales or whatever before the rest of them jump on. Well, there's a couple of things to take away from Pizzagate. Is that number one, if we're talking about a child pedophile ring and they're killing these kids, if you were to go with what the emails are, and these emails are leaked, they're leaked. They're not hacked, they're leaked. That's a big difference. So no, the Russians didn't do it. It's an insider. So this is if it's leaked, that should be your first indication right there. If it is leaked, not hacked. Hacked is one thing. Hacked can be like, okay, well, they say maybe it's a hack, but it's not really a hack at all. But a leak and if you can prove that it's a leak from within, then you can look at it and say, well, somebody leaked this out for a reason. They want the public to see this for a reason. Is it just to tarnish the name of Hillary Clinton? No, they probably want, if there's something to it, they want to make sure that they could save these kids. Again, and the idea to dismiss it, well, no, it's ridiculous, whatever. Child pedophile rings, unfortunately, are something that are real. And globally, yes. And what lets them, and I think I agree with Sargon of Akkad 100% on this, what allows them to prosper is people dismissing it. The idea is terrifying. I don't even like looking into it. Like, it's just so disturbing. But I know somebody's got to do it, and I know there's people doing it better than me. That's why I keep giving her the shout out, because she's putting. I see a future of this girl doing something for lost children. I really do, because to put that much care into it, really trying to get to the bottom of it. We're not going to get the smoking gun off the internet per se, but if we can gather enough evidence, circumstantial evidence, to make a case, at some point it's like there's not going to be a judge that will be able to refuse a warrant for the officials to go in. Again, this is the thing. Now, again, with the media censorship coming across the board, never mind just Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that, but you got like the mainstream media that's going to be vetting everything. Angela Merkel out there in Germany, for example, anybody that criticizes can get a $501 fine. I don't know what the extra $1 for, but fake news will be fined like $500,000 or something like that. Complete censorship. because that it's a weapon. That's a weapon at that point. It's like, well, we're just going to call you fake news. It doesn't matter if you are or not. And just think about it logically. You're telling me every single person on the internet that reports on something is fake news. I mean, sure, there's probably a lot of it is. And again, you have this guy that comes forward. He goes, no. He says, I work in the system here, and I inquired about it. This guy, I think she was talking to, I forget what his credentials are. I think, but he has something to do with law enforcement, or whatever. And explaining the system, because sometimes people just don't understand the system. And yes, you get your Alex Jones types that, yes, okay, he draws attention to something that's very important, but sometimes he makes mountains out of molehills too. He makes his money scaring the crap out of people, but it doesn't mean he's wrong. It just means, okay, we don't have the full picture here. Okay, well, still, okay. Yes, you might be able to explain the high number of missing kids, because they include them all. Okay, well, that's a little bit more relieving. That's good news, because it means, okay, how many of them are just the angry teenager that ran away from mom and dad to get even with them to make them worried for 24 hours. Okay, fine, we get that. But on the other hand, there's still the questions of the emails. Like the lingo, the comment ping pong thing. If that transgendered guy out there talking, like, this is supposed to be an all ages kind of thing. It looks like a very exclusive gay community type of thing. We know that the owner is quite gay and stuff like that, and posing in all blood and stuff. Again, the satanic connections, whatever. Maybe it's just, okay, they're doing it as a prank. Okay, fine. Maybe there's nothing to it. But on the other hand, the emails, that's where it started. That's where you need to go and look. And these emails really, the lingo, nobody talks about pizza like that. Or talks about pizza, email after email, like that type of thing. So it's just, it doesn't, what did you do last night? Oh, I had pizza. Yeah, you're gonna have write 3 paragraphs about your pizza? And it's stuff that, all you have to do is substitute wherever it says pizza or cheese or whatever, and put in, child or whatever, those type of things. I think it's very, very, very clear that, I know this is a separate subject, but it's so important that they're not talking about pizza. But anyway, other people are on it, so yeah, I'll give her the reality call. I really like her channel. I don't get to watch everything, but, she's on it. So, again, if you're law enforcement, military, or whatever, or you have the ability to look into these things a little more officially than the rest of us, do so. Next that, I'll leave it at that. I am going to be doing my global view. I'm going to try to see if I can get it out today, whatever. Next that, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Next that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself, be true to others. Always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day. G'day, and welcome. All right, we'll have a look at my Christmas tree. And all the shoveling I'm going to have to do today because the roof let go. What's my dog doing over there? Okay, see if you can spot Waldo here. Big black dog in the middle of the snow. What you doing, Goof? You coming back in? I know you're sitting in a snowbank. It's like, dog. She like stands up. It's easy to keep track of her in the wintertime anyway, so that's good. It's weird that she's sitting in there. And then we're just hovering around 0. And it all let go. Oh man, that's going to be the heavy stuff, especially when it gets mild like that. The boat and trailer should be okay. Snowed a little bit last night, but heavy wet stuff. Yeah. And it's laundry day. Okay, so next to that, I guess I'll start with the early emergency warning system. Apparently, my fellow Canadians were hearing about this all across the country, so it wasn't just me. Yesterday morning when I turned on the TV. Check out my hat. There you go. I turned on the TV. I was on channel 1911. I know. Cool. But I don't know what channel that is, why my dad had it on that channel. I have no idea. Or if it just died, got switched. I have no idea what happened. I turned it on, and it's basically a warning for Ontario, but apparently this happened all over Canada. I heard some people said it happened to them in a mall in Halifax. Heard out there in Calgary. I heard a few other places. So I guess it was a nationwide emergency warning thing. But if you listen to the message, like it's not like this is an early warning to prepare you for disasters or possible things. No, it's like this is a warning system to let you know you're in imminent danger and you're going to die. And that one was like warning Ontario. I don't know. There must have been one going on in Quebec. It was in both official languages, French and English and stuff like that. So I listened to it. I was like, this is not good. I can understand if they did. They do have to test these things. I get that. I know some people forget as soon as they test them. But I always look at the timing. Okay, and a couple of days after the attack in Germany there, whether that's a false flag or not, it's hard to say. Yes, the guy left his ID like all the other times. That sounds very Mossadish. It's very hard to say. But, you know, you don't know. I mean, it might be set up by those type of guys. You see the FBI do it all the time, or the CIA or whatever, where they get their patsy to do it. You know, like they convince them that they're doing it for the cause. So they find a willing participant and enable them. That's what they do. So maybe that's what we're looking at. We don't know. We're never going to know the truth, right? The other thing is that happens, and then you get this right around the holiday, like right around Christmas. So if it was, like, say, it was happening, say, last month and the month before, I wouldn't really make that much of a difference. You know, be like, okay, well, they're just testing the system. What's my dog doing? She got snow nose. She's got a big clump of snow on her nose. That looks so funny. Yeah, I don't know what my dog's doing. Anyway, she's out there, get the fresh air, get some of the stink off her. Oh, well, anyway. So, yeah, so this early warning system, you know, they're testing it now. I don't know what the threat levels are in Canada right now with CSIS, which is like our CIA kind of thing, / NSA. We kind of put them all into one here in Canada because we've got a lower budget. I don't know what the status is, so you could go look at the CSIS site if they're, you know, warning of any threats. But, you know, it's just the warning is sound, like it's not like, oh, this is a warning system in case of natural disasters or whatever. No, this is very specific to a warning of, you know, you're in imminent danger, meaning terrorist alert, that type of thing. So, I don't know. You guys tell me what you guys think of that. So, they're testing the system anyway to make sure it works. Yeah, we talked about in the last one about the 1,600 tanks going to the Netherlands, you know, throughout 2017. And there's all kinds of stuff going on there. We know a lot of stuff going to Norway. Oh, just so you know, yeah, yesterday we beat Canada, Team Canada in hockey, beat Finland something like 4-0. Go Team Canada. Today, looks like we had lunch with the Czech Republic, and I think that was 3-0. Just saying. Just saying. How do you like me now? So anyway, what's my dog doing? Just hanging out in the snow. What's she doing? Maybe crazy dog. Anyway, okay, let's just jump into this. So, it looks like the Electoral College they couldn't, and again, you could clearly see that the DNC was trying so hard, but they couldn't do it. Trump got 304 of the delegates out of the 277 that he needed, and I forget what Clinton got. She got, I guess, the remaining. Not all the remaining, because there was a few cast for Bernie Sanders, and a few other people that I didn't know who they were. So, the only thing I find weird about this Electoral College, the only thing I would change about it is that whatever the Electoral College is, whoever's in there, that those people can't not cast their vote. But then again, I understand why the Electoral College is there. So that you have all the liberals screaming, oh, it's outdated from the 1700s and it shouldn't be around. Now, here's the funny part, okay, about the Electoral College, and you're going to laugh when you hear this. Right now in Canada, I don't have the card over here, but the Justin Trudeau is trying to, you know, well, not him himself, but the Liberal Party is trying to change the electoral process in Canada. Something that we've, you know, been using the same way for over, you know, 150 some odd years, right? And what they're doing, the voting process in Canada, sounds like they're doing, because nobody can get a straight answer out of the Liberals. Well, what do you want to change it to? And their company line is basically, well, we're going to, you know, talk to Canadians. So they don't have a plan. Like, we're going to talk to Canadians and see what they think a fair system is. That type of thing. It's a really, I haven't went on their site. I'm going to call the number. I'll see if I can get it on loudspeaker or something. I think it might be kind of funny. But it's more to be insightful. I don't do it to, you know, I'm going to just ask them basic questions like, what is it exactly that you want to do? What is it that you want to change? You know, you're asking me what I want to change about it. Okay, fine, I got all kinds of ideas. Well, what do you guys want to change? What are you trying to go for? And what it sounds like that they're hinting at, strangely enough, is to give, you know, maximum representation over everybody, for everybody. So in other words, they're suggesting here in Canada an electoral college is what they're suggesting. That's what it sounds like to me. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, to give, because the way the Liberals will be looking at it, well, if we could smooth over, like, say, the smaller Native communities and stuff like that, they'll always vote Liberal, and we'll give them more power so that anybody that votes Conservative or whatever, they can be, like what you've seen in the American election, where, okay, well, let's say a conservative guy wins all the popular vote, but you have an electoral college, and he gets thrown, thrown under the bus. Okay, that's a possibility, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But this means Trump is now. It doesn't mean they won't kill him before he gets inaugurated. I don't think they will. I think what they want to do with Trump is embarrass him. Trump's picks are very concerning. But again, like I've said, with Trump, the only thing we can do with Trump, I mean, this man, he's still playing his poker game. You don't know if he's legit or not. You can't tell. There is no way to tell until after he does things. I think Trump is a kind of a mix of